Greetings, casual citizens, and welcome back. I'm Paul, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Haley.
Well, hello, everyone.
And we're here reviewing Big Little Lies, Season 2, Episode 4, She Knows. Quick reactions, Haley. What did you think of this episode?
Yeah. Wow. It was another very action-packed episode. It kind of reminded me a lot of episode 2. Last episode I felt was a little bit slower, and it really was action-packed. This episode. First I want to say, congratulations to Miss Zoe Kravitz and Kyle Glossman. They were, they were already married, but they officially had their wedding this weekend. So congratulations to them.
Oh, that's nice. Congratulations.
And yeah, I was very surprised and really enjoyed how this episode, at least I felt, kind of dived a little deeper in Renata. At least some parts of Renata that I felt maybe we didn't see as much.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I loved when she was, talking to Gordon at the party, and the, how she pictured her daughter's life. How she was going to, try to give her everything she possibly could and all these opportunities. You also had that one scene in the bathroom when she was taking off her ring along, and her wedding ring was on her finger, and the flashbacks to Amabella. And we know, obviously, Renata has this, love for Amabella, of course, but Renata has that, that strong, bitchy, CEO, character, vibe about her.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just really like that we really got to see inside her and inside her heart this episode. And I don't know. I mean, I know there were some episodes last season where, you kind of saw a little, emotion from Renata, but it typically was followed up with her yelling at whether it was like yelling at someone, whether it was her just like screaming to let off anger, or if she was like yelling at a lady or someone who worked for her, or a nanny or a friend. I don't know. I loved the deep dive into Renata this episode, and I was very surprised by that. But what did you think, Paul?
For me, this episode, I don't know. I didn't particularly care for it. It felt. It's funny that you felt like this one was a lot happened. I just felt like there wasn't that much that happened. To me, we got some stuff with Mary Louise and some important things, but you know, some people have called this like a soap opera, right? And it, yeah, I mean, it kind of is. But I feel like the overarching story that we had in season 1, there was like this mystery. Since that we don't have that this season, and I mentioned it last week that I was like, oh, it's kind of interesting. We're getting to experience all this stuff contemporaneously, at the same time as the characters. But this episode, to me, it felt like an episode of a soap opera where it was like, yeah, stuff happened, but I don't know how much of it was monumental and how much of it was just laying these little story pieces. This just kind of felt like, oh, we're just gonna spend a few scenes in different people's lives and see what happens. And I don't know. This one just kind of felt like a low one for me. So I didn't really care for it.
Boo!
I know.
I
Boo me.
love this episode. I see what you're saying as far as like, them having to, really work at, filling it full of, stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but there were multiple times throughout this episode that I gasped and was taken back. I really I man, I really enjoyed this episode. And like I said, probably my favorite episode thus far is probably episode 2.
Okay.
And I feel like this one is definitely up there. I, I will say there was a definitely a lot more scenes with Mary Louise, the Queen, Miss Meryl Streep.
Yeah.
Um, One scene in particular that I really enjoyed was the episode where she takes the boys for pizza, and you always see Perry like acting kind of silly whenever he was with the boys. He'd play these like characters and make these funny faces and make the boys laugh a lot, and you
Hmm.
you kind of saw where he may have got that from
Yeah, because she does the same
when
thing.
yeah, when they're having the pizza. And I really I felt that, because I have very mixed emotions when it comes to Mary Louise, and especially with this shit that she's trying to pull as far as taking away the boys from Celeste. Now, there's definitely stuff going on with Celeste, but the fact that she has tried to take her boys away from her, I was like, oh no, you better not do that.
Yeah, and I mean, judging by the response that I've seen so far on Twitter and various social media, that seems to be the vibe that most people have, which is Mary Louise is not liked, and I agree. I mean, she's definitely, um, yeah, she's rough, right? And there you do start to see peaks of maybe what's how Perry got to be the way he is, but at the same time. I kind of empathize in the sense that like I mean she's not really wrong. Like Celeste has her behavior has been not great, right? I mean she got in a car accident on Ambien. She had this guy over, which I feel like Mary Louise would judge her for having the guy over no matter what, and that's not fair. But like the fair part is she didn't remember and she didn't even realize that he was in the house. So she had another Ambien episode. And obviously there was a scene where she shoved Max, and obviously now she slapped Mary Louise. And yeah, Mary Louise, you could argue that she deserved it, but at the same time, if you look at it from a third party perspective, I'm not I don't necessarily think Mary Louise is 100% wrong. Celeste is definitely going through some stuff right now. And that point was kind of proven at the end when Mary Louise is talking to Jane, and you know she asked her like, "Hey, would you, put Ziggy in the car with Celeste and the boys?" And Jane
Yeah.
obviously hesitated. She was like, "Oh, that's a fair point, right?" And so I'm trying to keep it balanced there and understand that like she's not 100% wrong, but also how much of it is her pushing her to that too, right? It's anyway.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I will say, did not expect Celeste to, uh, hook up with that bartender.
Yeah.
And I will say I was also a little upset that we didn't get to see any titties on Nicole Kidman this episode. I thought that maybe that would happen, but it didn't.
Okay.
A little disappointed, everybody. But
Okay.
um, I and I also thought that where she kind of pictured Perry, that kind of like creeping around the corner. That was a little creepy. Well, you see this kind of like extreme from Celeste and Jane. Celeste is able to move on and like be sexual with someone else, and Jane can't even bring herself to kiss someone because of what this person has done to her. Um,
Hmm.
yeah.
But that whole thing of okay, that's another thing that concerns me though, with her with the bartender. Again, do what you want, and I don't have a problem with it. But at the same time, how much of it is codependent? Like I think it's becoming clear that Celeste definitely had a codependency issue with Perry, and I mean I think the whole thing with her visualizing Perry was, I think the point of that was, he was this guy, whatever. He was just a vessel for her to reimagine that she was still with Perry, right? So, but I also want to bring up a comment um, that we got in the chat. Thrifty Scorpion says, "As a mom, we're entitled to have rough spells and recover," and I totally agree with that. And
Absolutely, 100%, absolutely.
right, and her, her husband died, right? So it's like you can't blame her, right? So I 100% agree that she totally has a right to have to grieve and to have a rough time, and Mary Louise should be helping her through this, and she definitely at this point, it's clear, is not trying to help, right? It's clear that she has another, she has her own ulterior motive. And that's, like I said a second ago, like that's not helping. That's adding to it because Celeste knows it. And like this isn't going to help Celeste. You know what I'm saying? And so like I get that there's a point for the sake of the kids, but also like, man, like this isn't helping. I guess it's just it's tough. It's tough. It's a tough situation. And I don't know what the right answer here is, to be honest. But I feel like it's probably not taking custody away of the kids. I feel like that's excessive. But I feel like
Yeah,
I feel
it's
like
a little
Mary Louise
much.
has like a controlling thing that like that's what she has to do. Like that she just wants to take control of it. And I'm wondering if we're starting to see foreshadowing, because Jane asked her, like, are you going to come after Ziggy next? Should I be worried about that? And she's like, oh, no, you're a wonderful mother. And it's like, well, okay, but you said that about Celeste 4 episodes ago, right? So what are you going to say about Jane in 4 episodes? Especially if she
Good
starts,
point.
hooking up with Corey, right? What's she going to say then? I mean, she's already suspecting her of not necessarily being raped by Perry and accusing her of coming on to him or trying to lead him on or being aggressive with him or something like that. So I feel like that's only a matter of time too. So like this is one of those situations where it's like I get your point, but like man, if anybody else was making it, right, it would be a lot more. Other right now, it just feels like yes, Mary Louise, you have a point that Celeste is struggling, but of course she should be. And like I don't necessarily think that I don't necessarily take your concern in good faith in this situation. So.
Mm.
So anyway, what do you think? I mean, do you think she's gonna get custody of the kids?
I don't. I feel like, Celeste, I think is just going through a hard time, right now, and she's, I don't know if this. I don't want to call it a wake up call, but there's no way. Like she said when she was talking to the therapist, you know, she's not gonna fucking win. No way. And she's not gonna take my boys.
Yeah.
So no, I don't feel like Mary Louise is gonna get away with what she thinks she is.
Well, I'm wondering if she played dirty, like she said, like the lawyer suggested she do, right? Where basically she calls every family attorney in the city so that they all have a
I
conflict.
know, what a dirty little bitch.
Well,
And even Renata said that, she would have given her so and so's name as a lawyer.
Yeah.
But she couldn't because that's who Mary Louise got.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she's playing dirty. You're right. And maybe that just goes to show that Mary Louise is kind of knows that this is gonna maybe not work out in her favor either, and it can really damage her relationship with Celeste and the boys. Like, do you really think Celeste, I do feel like eventually would find it in her heart to let Mary Louise back into her life and the boys' life, but fuck, she's pissed.
Yeah. We just got a comment. It was interesting. Suggesting that Mary Louise is going to get murdered in season 3 or 4. Do you see that happening? And if it did, do you think it would be that late?
I think I feel like someone's dying this season. Yes, I think
Really?
it will be this season. Whether it is, I don't know who it's going to be. I can see Mary Louise for for uh, a brief moment, I thought like maybe it would be like Ed or someone. I don't know why I thought that.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I feel like someone's gonna. I feel like maybe someone will die this episode. Or I'm sorry, this season. Sorry,
This season.
guys, this season.
Okay. I guess I didn't think about that. I kind of just was thinking of this season more as just like I said, we just kind of settled into, the aftermath of this. That I mean, is a part of me that like, well, if somebody gets murdered every single season, well, like that's not very realistic, you know. What I like about the show is the way it realistically portrays, some intimate relationships and things like that. And if it then just turns into like, oh, people get offed every season, but then again, who's to say? Like that could make sense when it happens. I guess I just totally didn't expect that to happen, to be honest. So.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyway, so
Yeah,
oh,
I
go ahead.
definitely have thought it all season. Just I don't know who it's gonna be, but I do feel like something like that's gonna happen.
Well, I feel like if it's gonna be anybody, it's got to be Mary Louise at this point, right? Like for multiple
Mhm.
reasons. Number one, I mean, she's burning a lot of bridges, so that's not gonna help her cause. Number two is Meryl Streep. Like, you gonna put her on the payroll for multiple seasons? How's that gonna work out? Like, that's a big name that usually is only going to be in there for one season. So, but maybe I'm wrong. But I totally expect it to be Mary Louise if it's anybody. So, but moving on,
Mhm.
you kind of mentioned Ed, so let's talk about Madeline and Ed. So they're still struggling. Um,
Ugh. Ed is still so depressed. I want him to perk back up again. I don't like how like obviously I understand that he's sad and is really really hurt
mhm.
obviously and has every right to be, but like I want funny Ed back.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, I guess I don't get funny Ed because Madeline's a cheating whore last season, but I want funny Ed back.
yeah,
And I will say, seeing that scene of like him and Bonnie kind of like dancing at Amabella's birthday party, that
yeah.
was like the first time you see Ed happy and Bonnie happy this season.
Yeah, I know. I don't know what they're setting up with that, to be honest. I don't know if like are they setting that up to be a thing, do you think? Like a
I hope
relationship?
not because that's I hope not. That's very soap opera y.
Yeah.
I hope they don't. I hope they don't do that.
And they haven't done a lot of laying the groundwork for it because they haven't uh, Bonnie and Ed haven't had a lot of interactions at all. In fact, they've deliberately avoided it, because Nathan's asked
Right.
Ed to talk to Bonnie multiple times and then like he never would, but then yeah, ever since Madeline, ever since that happened, that's the only two times we've seen him with Bonnie. So like I can't tell if it's like they're trying to make this a thing all of a sudden or if it's he knows that she's watching and he's using it to try to get back at her. And I don't like either one of those cuz he should be better than that.
Yeah, I don't like either one of those either.
He should be better than that.
Yeah.
Don't be that way yet.
Yeah, don't be that way.
But just like you gave a shout out to Zoe Kravitz earlier, I'm going to give a shout out to Adam Scott for his clapback game on Twitter this week. He totally clapped back at Mitch McConnell, and it was great. So props to you. Did you see this?
Oh, I did not see that, but
So
way to go, Adam Scott.
yeah, Mitch McConnell. It was based on some comment that he made about filling Supreme Court. Anyway, his team on Twitter, like his official team's Twitter account or whatever, posted a link to the story about it, and they used a GIF of Adam Scott from Parks and Rec, and then so he just replied back saying like, "Hey, Mitch McConnell, anybody on his team, don't use my image without my permission because I don't approve of you guys." And they just replied back with some screenshot of something that happened to him in the show, and he just replied back to them with a picture of Mitch McConnell standing in front of a Confederate flag, and it was like, oh,
Oh shit.
like he roasted him. So that was anyway. Congrats, Adam. I appreciated that. But yeah, in terms of yeah, I hope they can. I said it last time. I hope they can work it out, and I still think they can. But I, he's hurt, and and you see in the preview for what's coming up next season, he says like he's not leaving. He's clearly not leaving. I don't think he wants to leave, but he has that line where he says that, hey, you forced me to basically stay with this person that I don't trust anymore, right? And I think there's just going to be some period of trying to regain that trust. And what I'm worried about is that Madeline isn't going to wait that long. That like she's going to give it a few
Yeah.
weeks and then he's going to be like, "Hey, I still don't trust you and I'm still not good with this yet." And then but that's not going to be enough for her, and you can already see she's starting to imagine herself with what's his name, Joseph or Justin or whatever his name was again. So that's that concerns me.
Yeah.
Um
I can I can I can see that a little bit.
yeah, and I just want to say too with Nathan, like this guy continues to be a child.
He absolutely does.
I get it.
Yeah, like
Well, it's like I get it. Like Bonnie is like she's struggling with stuff, and I get it. But like for 2 seasons, it's like every single episode, it's like he just has to go pick on Ed. This is just to be weird. It's like I just over nothing. It's like, dude, just act like an adult. What is wrong with you? Like no wonder, no wonder she got divorced. It's just like no wonder your wife now can't talk to you about anything. You act like a freaking 14-year-old. So
yeah, he's a little petty.
I'm ready. I'm ready to see Ed just knock him out, just one time.
Yeah, right? Thought that was gonna kind of happen this episode, but
I know. I was kind of
just a little teaser scuffle,
yeah,
maybe.
yeah. Anyway, so also speaking of Bonnie, so Elizabeth, she in fact did not leave. So I was not clear last episode whether or not she was getting ready to leave or because we only saw her in the beginning of the episode. But no, she didn't leave. She's still around.
Right.
So good for her.
Yes. Yes. Yeah,
Uh,
she stuck to her guns. She stayed around.
yeah. Except for then she had a stroke, and that's not good. And it she seemed to have a vision again right before it happened,
Yes.
and we see later on when she wakes up after her stroke that it appears to be a vision of Bonnie drowning. Now is that do you I it was hard to tell because it was kind of blurry, but is it to me is
Was it
Bonnie.
Bonnie?
Well, it was Bonnie. I mean, it's the picture that just popped up here. It's definitely Bonnie, but because it's blurry, I'm having a hard time telling if it's like a younger her or like current her. Is this like a memory or is it like a vision of maybe something's gonna happen in the future? I'm very. I don't know. What do you think on that?
I'm not sure because there was also um another flashback that she had, or no, actually, I think it was that Bonnie had of her mom like shaking her as a child
Yeah.
in like a, I don't know, in like a room. And yeah, she had the flashback when she touched Renata, and then also when she woke up. So yeah, I'm not sure what I think it is. I believe it's of Bonnie now drowning with the guilt that she has for pushing Perry. I think that's what she's seeing.
Oh, okay. So you think it's metaphorical?
Yes.
Hmm. I kind of I don't know. To me, it feels like that this is real. Like this is like a memory, right? Because Bonnie keeps seeing the same thing. She keeps looking out at the ocean, and to me, it feels like. And of course, we got that flashback last episode or the episode before last. I don't remember. Of essentially Elizabeth teaching Bonnie how to swim by basically
And
dunking her
hold it.
under the water and
Yeah.
holding her down there. So it feels like there's a history there with Bonnie and water and nearly drowning. So I'm wondering if that was some kind of previous suicide attempt or overdose or something like that. And I don't know. I don't know. That's kind of the vibe that I get. And because we continue to see too her dad also kind of treated her not very cool. Basically, like, what did you say to her before she had her stroke? Like, did you cause this kind of thing?
Yeah.
And it was like he said something about, you know how she gets with you or something like that. And it just kind of seemed like they were hinting at, like, oh, maybe something's happened before. So I'm wondering if that's a thing that happened before, and her mom had a hard time dealing
Maybe.
with that. That's just the vibe that I get.
Possibly. That'd be that I would love it if that were yeah, I'd love that.
Yeah.
I would love that.
Well, anyway, I hope she gets better. I don't think she's gonna die. You don't think she's gonna die, do you?
No, 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 no. I
Okay.
don't think it's gonna be no.
Okay. That's good. I don't know. I hope she's good. I hope we get more, because obviously I want to learn more about that. But anyway, but yeah, poor Bonnie. Rough, man. Rough.
I know.
Because, like, her, I felt like she was getting some good vibes with her mom, and then all of a sudden she has a stroke, and that's just, to have all this going on, and then to have your dad act that way was kind of tough time for her. And you can't rely on, caveman Nathan here. So
Well, yeah, and you even see her kind of have that little outburst towards what's her name, the Quentin or the
Quentin.
police lady.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know, like she's like, "What the fuck are you doing here? What the fuck?" And I'm
Well,
like,
okay,
"Ooh," like she.
but seriously, what is the cop doing there? Like,
Well, Jane explained that she was there for another case, a DUI case. That's why she was there.
oh, I don't know. I don't know that I
Mhm.
believe that. I don't know that I believe that, because she's been following them all around. We saw her following around last episode, and of course we know Mary Louise went and
You,
talked to her. I think she was there keeping tabs on her.
yeah. I don't know, maybe she was. Little sly fox, her.
Well, and because we
Maybe she
know,
was.
well, like, I know, because we know Mary Louise is talking to her, and we know Mary Louise is suspicious of of Bonnie, even though she just met her
Yeah,
this episode.
yeah. It was a very awkward look that she gave her. Well,
She gave her
not
one of those.
awkward, but
Well, she gave her one of those Meryl
yeah,
Streep
tried
death
to.
stares.
Yeah, yeah. Like I see through your soul type of looks when she met Bonnie at the Halloween decorating thing.
Yeah, and when Meryl Streep does that, I feel it. So, because I feel like she's looking into my soul, and it's concerning. So, anyway,
Yeah,
that's just the magic that is Meryl Streep. Um,
absolutely.
let's see, what else do we have? Oh, Renata. Okay, so Renata and Gordon are going through their bankruptcy. So you kind of talk about this, because you mentioned that you like seeing a lot more about Renata in this episode.
I did. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. And Renata's not one of my more favorite of a character, but I really loved the deep dive into some of the heartfelt and emotional um, parts of Renata, because she, like I said earlier, she just has this such hard exterior, um, and it shows that she is, she has these like really strong, hard feelings, and how she has to wipe those tears away and go say hi and hello to people, at Amabella's party, and you can just tell she's not only hurting for the fact that she's in the financial situation that she's in, but like also, what poor Amabella is obviously going through some shit too.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I love that part of this episode.
Yeah, it's interesting with Renata. One of the big things I took out of this episode, or that maybe this is the politics, that part of me coming out, but there's that scene when they're at the disco party, which, by the way, what a weird party to throw for a Halloween party for a bunch of kids.
I know. I know. I was really surprised that kids that age enjoy
A
disco
disco,
music. Like
yeah.
I could have sworn it was gonna be like Ariana Grande or some Taylor Swift or like some Jonas Brothers, but like disco.
I don't.
They had a lot more. They had knew a lot more about disco 80s music at that age than I ever did. So hey,
Maybe
Get it?
maybe when it's one of those liberal elite coastal hipster things,
Yeah,
right?
right.
It's
Yeah,
like
I
a
bet so. And also, I think the party was more for the adults than it was the children, but
yeah.
whatevs.
That's the kind of the feeling I got. But like theoretically, it was about a Halloween party for these kids. But yeah, it definitely felt more like this was for the adults.
No, well, it was Amabella's birthday.
Oh, was it? Well, okay. I thought it was a
Yes,
Halloween
you
party.
silly, because she remember they're in the car. Well, not their car. They're taking a cab home because her bankruptcy lawyer takes their Tesla.
Yeah.
But they're riding home, and she tells Gordon, "You will pay for this someday. You will pay for this, but today's not your day because today is Amabella's day, and it's all about laughter and magic." And then it's and she also mentions that, but when they're walking into the bankruptcy court,
Mm-hmm.
she said that something about how we'll hurry this up because we got to get to the
Birthday party or something.
birthday party that
Okay.
we spent so much money on, and he was like, "Don't tell the trustees that."
Yeah, that makes sense because obviously Amabella's birthday in season 1 was a thing, and it
Yes.
was around this time. So I guess that makes sense. I guess I got thrown off by the pumpkin carving at the beginning. So like that to me
Well,
just said Halloween.
yeah, that was a little confusing, but Madeline said something about that earlier about how, why are we celebrate or decorating pumpkins, so early instead of at the end, of the month.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to be the first and be the first to do everything or the best of everything in this town.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that kind of threw me off too a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, we got a comment too. It says, as a mom, we kind of map things out. When it goes askew, we get devastated. Yeah, I totally got that vibe from Renata. I mean, I think that's what she's really struggling with, and especially given now that we know her past, as she came up with, not as a person of means, as they say.
Hmm.
Um, she had this whole idea of, I don't want my daughter to have to live that way, and here's what I wanted for her, and now she's kind of seeing it all fall apart, and it's like I can imagine that is very devastating. So, because I grew up that way. Not we didn't have a lot and stuff like that, and now I'm doing fine as an adult, and I wouldn't want that for my kids. So I could totally see that not happening, and she's definitely struggling with that. Um, but at the same time, I like as I was gonna say with this, it's probably the politics part of me coming out. But there's that scene when they're at the disco party, and she's talking to Gordon, and she says basically like, "Well, this is my own fault. I just have to deal with
My
it.
pick,
Yeah, my
yeah, my
picker's
picker
bad."
was broken. Yeah.
She was like my dumb fault, right? And it very much reeks of that whole personal responsibility thing of like convincing people like all the hardships that fall upon them are their own fault, and that's just kind of the vibe I got from it. It's like, wow, she really internalized that, you know, and so that's
Well, yeah, but that's what we do.
yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. It's just I thought that was interesting. It's like because in this case, like it's actually like literally not your fault, right? It's like okay, my picker's bad. Like, well, that's not it's not your fault. Like he seems to be totally normal other than that, right? And
Mm.
he has been fine for how many years now? 15 years or whatever now. And like he screwed up. It's like well, I mean, he screwed up really bad, and that's totally not your fault. I don't know. Just don't blame yourself for not. It's not your fault. You didn't do this. It's totally Gordon. And anyway, he's totally screwing them up. But one of the things I found interesting was I didn't understand when they were in the bankruptcy hearing that $4,200 or whatever that was, and she said it was for medical expenses. But
Yeah, and she pointed at her forehead. It was for Botox. She's like,
oh,
duh. You're not a
Oh,
woman, Paul. You didn't get that.
I totally didn't
No,
get
she
it.
said it's medical and it wouldn't be covered. It wouldn't be covered under an insurance. And she pointed up and down on her forehead and she's like, "It's because I've had to work with men like you my whole life. Yeah, it's
Okay.
Botox."
Okay, I got you. Yeah, I totally didn't get that. I'm
Sword
sorry.
right over your head there,
Yeah,
Paul.
it did. I was just thinking like, oh, well, okay, it's something medical,
For
whatever.
Amabella.
Well, there were lots of potential things going through my head of what it could be, but my thing was like, he's like, oh, I decide whether or not your bankruptcy gets approved or something like that. I'm like, I don't think that gives you the right to invade medical privacy laws, though. But maybe I'm wrong on
Yeah,
that.
right? Like,
So,
whoa, wait a minute here, Betty.
like, this is a bankruptcy hearing. It's like chill it a little bit. But what, that attorney guy there, the bankruptcy guy, like his facial expressions were great. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
he was acting like a dick, but props to that actor because he nailed it.
Yes.
So
Yeah, yeah. I loved it. Yeah, that Rolex watch that you're wearing is not on it. That wedding ring's not on it. How did
mm-hmm.
you get here? You drive here?
Mm-hmm.
Personal car? I'll take that too. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I liked his character too.
It's funny. It's like eh, okay, so what are they're selling their house. Like what are they gonna have left at the end? Like bankruptcy, generally speaking, they don't take everything, right? They hold a lot of stuff in collateral, but like they don't take everything. So like but he said I mean they took their car and their house and their wedding rings. Like where are they gonna stay? I'm confused. Like they're not gonna be broke, surely.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how that works or yeah. So, I don't know. Maybe part of it's like for the writing and this or that. I don't know
I don't
how
know.
bankruptcy law works.
I don't either.
Um,
I've never had to go through it. I mean, I know people that have gone through it, but it's like I didn't
yeah,
remember them losing their
I've
car.
not had to go through it. I've known people who have, but it's one of those things where you don't pry,
Yeah, yeah,
so
you don't ask a lot of questions.
I honestly have no idea.
It just seems
But
doesn't seem like they would send you home without your car. But then again, the,
I think sometimes they take the car. I mean,
I
I
mean,
think
could be.
I mean, people get their cars repossessed all the time
Well,
for
that's fair.
for not making payments. You know
That's
what I
fair.
mean? So yeah, I think they might take the car.
That's fair.
But God, you would think with that kind of money, they car would be paid off. But I know nothing, so I don't know.
I don't know. People that rich, a lot of times they lease, to be honest, because they just get new
Oh,
cars every
true.
few years. So anyway, although
Yeah.
I don't know that you can lease a Tesla. Anyway, that's a different story, different podcast. All right. Um, let's see. Do we have anything major that we missed? Oh, Jane. Jane tells Corey more about what happened to her and about Ziggy.
Yeah, I felt that like when he grabbed, like I loved when she just like laid her head on his chest while they were dancing, and she just breathed, and like I
Mm-hmm.
was like, oh, I'm so happy for her, like she's moving on, and then she immediately it cuts to that scene of Perry's shoes, and I'm like, oh god damn it, he's
I know.
back.
Yeah.
So but I really did like when she was talking to Corey about it. I thought the scene was beautiful, like the background was them sitting outside was just perfect, and when she starts talking to him and he just grabs her hand, and I felt that. I think they're so cute. I just love I hate that Jane is having to explain this, this horrible horrific thing happened to her, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I love that Corey's there for her.
Yeah.
So I like him a lot.
Yeah. I agree. I think I got kind of weird vibes from him early on, but I thought he handled that really well.
Yeah, he would definitely threw me off last episode with the whole fish thing. I was like, okay,
Yeah, I
so
know, right?
what are we dealing with exactly? But
Yeah.
he's gone up from there, so we'll move past it.
Yep. Yep. Good job, Corey. Um.
um
Oh, yeah. You got anything else on that?
oh no, not on that.
The only other thing I can think of is kind of that comment that Mary Louise had made when she was talking to Celeste about her son's death. Oh, I guess actually Celeste said it to Mary Louise and her husband left her after he died, and because apparently he blamed her. And I'm do you think that was literal or kind of metaphorical? Like, do you think? I guess what I'm asking is, do you think that there's a possibility that she actually had something to do with Raymond's death?
No, I don't think she had a direct correlation, but maybe she
What?
wasn't on time or,
Right, right.
didn't pick, you know what I mean? I feel like maybe it had,
Hmm.
because I don't feel like we haven't gotten the full story of what happened to Raymond.
No, no.
Um,
I hope we do.
so I think it was, yeah, I hope so too. I think it was more metaphorical, of her just not being there. I don't think it was a direct correlation to his death.
Hmm.
I feel like that would have come up by now if it was something like that, you know?
Hmm. Yeah.
So,
Um. Yeah. I guess I could see that. It feels more like a thing where it's like, oh yeah, a neglect kind of thing of where you weren't where you
yeah.
said you were going to be, and you wonder how much of that informs the way she's treating Celeste now. If maybe that was something like that, and she kind of still partially feels guilty, and that's
Mhm.
why she's treating Celeste the way she is. But I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, overall thoughts. I guess you recommend.
I absolutely recommend. I love this episode. Celeste definitely. I mean, she really knows how to pick them as far as when it comes to men between
Yeah.
at least as far as looks. Let's not go into personality issues and being a rapist, but
Yeah.
of course Perry is gorgeous and Joe wasn't bad looking either.
Yeah.
Um but no, I thought it was a great episode. I felt a lot of parts of this episode. So 100% recommend.
Okay. I think you've talked me up on it a little bit more. At the beginning I was kind of like, not a lot
Oh,
happened.
yay!
But when you sit and recount it, there was a lot that, again, we're getting breadcrumbs, and so overall,
Yeah.
and there were some
Yeah.
important scenes with Mary Louise that I think are gonna hopefully pay off. So I recommend. For me, it was a lazier episode, but that's okay. They don't all have to be nonstop and fast paced. So and like I said, there were lots of little seeds and lots of good moments. So overall, I think I recommend as well. Any other thoughts, Haley?
No, no, none here.
All right. Well, with that, uh, thank you for watching. You've been watching Casual Notion. Check out some of our other review videos and check out our other videos on other things we do. Be sure to follow us on social media, twitter.com/casual notion and instagram.com/casual notion. And as always, like, comment, subscribe. What did you think of the episode? So until next time, keep it casual, everyone. Bye.
Bye.